Red Bull responds to comments of mistreating Daniel. Perez drops huge bombshell about his future, and Alonso reveals he held talks with Newey before the big move happened. Do consider subscribing to the channel. Let's get straight into the latest F1 news. As fans reacted to Red Bull not giving Daniel Ricciardo a proper send-off, Helmut Marko has explained that was because of a variety of factors and obligations. Although Ricciardo went into the Singapore weekend with a good idea that it could be his last race with speculation running rife, it wasn't until Thursday, 4 days later, that official confirmation was made by VCARB. Confirming that reserve driver Liam Lawson will drive for VCARB for the rest of the season, team boss Laurent Mekies added, "Everyone here at VCARB would like to thank Daniel for his hard work across the last 2 seasons with us. He has brought a lot of experience and talent to the team with a fantastic attitude, which has helped everyone to develop and foster a tight team spirit. Daniel has been a true gentleman both on and off the track and never without that smile. He will be missed, but will always hold a special place within the Red Bull family." PlanetF1.com understands the door has been left open for Ricciardo to stay in the Red Bull racing pool, but that will be his decision. Fans on X largely reacted angrily to VCARB and Red Bull not giving Ricciardo a proper send-off, calling it embarrassing, shocking, and saying the Honey Badger deserved better with a proper send-off. "Y'all did him dirty," wrote one user, while also saying Ricciardo's departure is one of the worst things I have witnessed in watching Formula One for over 60 years. But according to Marko, while the rest of the world didn't know it was Ricciardo's last race due to various factors, the 8-time Grand Prix winner knew in advance. The timing was related to a variety of factors and obligations, he told Motorsport.com. He was informed, and the worthy farewell performance was, I think, the fastest lap. That still showed what potential he has, not continuously, and not at the level that would have justified him coming to Red Bull Racing. But that was an impeccable performance. I think it was clearly communicated that he has to be significantly better than Yuki Tsunoda, and he only managed that in a few races. So it was clear that this story of the prodigal son rejoining Red Bull Racing unfortunately didn't work out. He said very well that he is at peace with himself, and he has come to terms with the situation, and we will see what his plans for the future are. It was speculated earlier this week that sponsorship issues were behind the delayed announcement, with some claiming Visa Cash App specifically wanted Ricciardo, while others said it was because of Hugo Boss. The team has not said anything about that. But whatever the reason was, at least Ricciardo knew, and he finished his final F1 race with a 17th fastest lap stat to go with his 8 wins, 32 podium finishes, 1329 points, and 3 pole positions. "I've loved this sport my whole life," Ricciardo said on social media. "It's wild and wonderful and been a journey. To the teams and individuals that have played their part, thank you. To the fans who love the sport sometimes more than me, haha, thank you. It'll always have its highs and lows, but it's been fun, and truth be told, I wouldn't change it. Until the next adventure." HAAS Automation have seen their case dismissed by a U.S. judge after they claimed former team principal Guenther Steiner infringed on their trademark. The American company claimed that Steiner had infringed on their trademark in his 2022 book Surviving to Drive, but a U.S. judge has now ruled that to be inaccurate. HAAS sued their former team principal and his publisher 10 Speed in May over claims he had used HAAS branding and trademarks in the book without permission or consent from the company. The defense argued that use of the logos fell under fair use and was protected by the First Amendment, and a California judge has agreed, stating that the choice of images was artistically relevant and not explicitly misleading. The book recounts Steiner's experiences as team principal of the HAAS F1 team during the 2022 season, court documents read. Using photos that include the HAAS marks is an artistic choice to provide additional context about the 2022 season with the HAAS F1 team. Here, there is no explicit indication, overt claim, or explicit misstatement that the source of the work is HAAS Automation. While there's an argument the photo on the cover implicitly suggests endorsement or sponsorship, there is no explicitly misleading statement or suggestion by way of the HAAS marks. Accordingly, defendant's use here of the HAAS marks is protected under Rogers. Defendant's motion is therefore granted. The Rogers test comes from the landmark case Rogers vs. Grimaldi, where a performer called Ginger Rogers sued the producers and distributors of a film, Ginger and Fred, alleging that the title violated the Lanham Act by creating a false impression that she was involved in some manner in the film. The Lanham Act prohibits the use of work that confuses the affiliation, connection, or association with the work holder. This is not the only legal dispute between Steiner and HAAS, with the former claiming he is owed commissions and royalties in a case that is ongoing. Steiner left HAAS before the 2024 season, with the team opting to replace him with Ayao Komatsu. Since leaving the team, Steiner has taken up a number of media engagements and has a second book coming out later this year. Sergio Perez has revealed that recent thoughts of retiring did take place for 3 seconds, but that he is committed to the next 2 seasons of Formula One. It was recently rumored that the Red Bull driver was considering walking away from the sport, something he has denied despite it briefly crossing his mind. The Mexican is enduring a difficult campaign, not helped by the Milton Keynes-based team's struggles with its RB20. Perez is 8th in the F1 Drivers' Championship and 187 points adrift of teammate and championship leader Max Verstappen. There was a brief return to form during the recent Azerbaijan Grand Prix, in which Perez outperformed Verstappen throughout the weekend. The 34-year-old was set for his first podium since the Chinese Grand Prix until a penultimate lap crash with Carlos Sainz ended his chances. Perez's brief good form ended in Singapore, where he was eliminated in Q2 and recovered to only 10th position in the race. Despite his current performance issues, Perez has no intention of retiring yet, although he has insisted that when the decision happens, it will be his call only. For the past 6 months I have been thinking about it, but it took me 3 seconds to make the decision, Perez told DAS en España. In the end, it would be the easy way to give up. I would never have forgiven myself. I want to end my career when I want to, and not when someone tells me. That's the most important thing, getting to the point where I can decide my future. Perez signed a 1+1 deal with Red Bull earlier this year, keeping him with the team next season with an option to continue in 2026 if his performances are to a required standard. Although he is adamant he has 2 more seasons with Red Bull, he has no intention of continuing into his 40s like Fernando Alonso, as he has other priorities. For now, I'm very motivated. I want very much to continue in F1, added Perez. I enjoy it. You mostly enjoy the good moments, but you also learn to enjoy the bad moments. For now, I have a 2-year contract. 2 years is a long time, but I know the end is coming closer and closer. I don't see myself racing here like Fernando. I admire him for everything he does at his age. It's not that I wouldn't enjoy it, but more because I have young children, and I want to spend much more time with them. With 24 races a year, the calendar is long, but I will be there for at least 2 more years. However, I don't see myself in Formula One for much longer. Alpine staff have made a last-ditch plea to save the Renault Formula One engine project ahead of a crucial vote on the manufacturer's plans for the F1 2026 season. Renault announced its intention in July to allocate its historic F1 engine factory in Viry-Châtillon to non-F1 projects, with Alpine F1 team principal Bruno Famin stepping down for his role to oversee the process. It means that Alpine are set to adopt a customer engine supply from the F1 2026 season, despite being under the ownership of a major car manufacturer in Renault. Mercedes, which last powered Alpine, then Lotus, in 2015, has been strongly linked with stepping in to supply customer engines to the Enstone-based team from F1 2026. Renault's plans to abandon its F1 engine project has been met with fierce resistance by Renault staff, many of whom went on strike last month, and some staging a protest at the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, with the decision described as a betrayal. With a consultative vote set to take place on Monday 30th September, Renault's plans could be set to step up within days. Staff representatives of Alpine Racing have issued a statement confirming a delegation met with Luca De Meo, the Renault chief executive, on September 20th, with the hope of forcing a change of heart. Yet with a final decision looming, Alpine staff have warned that the sky is getting darker by the day. The delegation, it is claimed, presented a proposal to Mr. De Meo, ensuring commitment to the competitiveness of the power unit on track in 2026, as well as commitment to achieving a first-rate sporting result. The proposal also vowed to leave it to our governance to decide on an alternative path once the car has been tested in 2026, and an assurance that the F1 project will be carried out in parallel with the innovation projects proposed by management last July. The staff delegation also outlined the challenges facing F1 teams when the regulations are implemented in F1 2026, with the new rules set to place greater emphasis on integrating the engine with the chassis, and therefore favoring teams that manufacture both the chassis and power unit under one roof. It pointed to the strategic decisions of the Aston Martin, Honda, Red Bull, Ford, and Sauber, Audi F1 teams, who have struck up new relationships with major automotive manufacturers for F1 2026, as evidence that teams will require much greater convergence between the engine, chassis, and technological independence for the sport's new era. It also cites energy management and the management of energy between the electric motor, battery, and combustion engine as a major development area for manufacturers from F1 2026. The statement concludes, "The finishing line is approaching, and after the consultative vote on Monday 30th of September, Alpine Racing France's transformation plan could be implemented. The consequences of this abandonment would be numerous, including the loss of the attractiveness of the Viry-Châtillon site, the flight of skills and talent, and also the loss of a worldwide reputation and our French heritage. Our passion and determination are still intact. Let's preserve the DNA of our F1. Support us." Despite winning races with Red Bull and Alpine, Renault have largely struggled since the V6 hybrid regulations were introduced in 2014, with the current engine thought to be the least powerful on the grid. However, German publication Auto Motor und Sport revealed in August that the firm's F1 2026 engine, dubbed the RE26A, had delivered promising results in its first run on the test bench, which took place on June 24th. The F1 2026 power unit was estimated to have reduced in size by 12% compared to the current engine and thought to be below the minimum weight limit, with no critical problems discovered in terms of reliability. Christian Horner thinks Red Bull's poor Italian Grand Prix weekend may have been the low point that helped turn its 2024 season around. Red Bull's performance dip hit a new low in Monza, where the RB20 was the fourth fastest car, with Max Verstappen calling his car a monster, as he became ever more pessimistic about his chances of holding off McLaren's Lando Norris in the championship. But the Italy trip did turn out to be a useful data-gathering exercise, as Red Bull continued its floor experiments across both cars, and according to team principal Horner, it unearthed the root cause of what had been going wrong with the RB20's handling. "We already could see the issues, but I think what Monza really exposed was perhaps some of the root cause, or helped to identify the root cause of the issue. So I'm taking Monza as the low point, and we're starting to build out of that," he said in Singapore. Following Monza's poor showing, Verstappen's teammate Sergio Perez was back in contention in Baku on a different setup to the Dutchman, and in Singapore, Verstappen finished second, albeit a sobering distance between runaway winner Norris. Those are not the kind of results the formerly dominant team will have been excited about, but at least they indicated that Red Bull has started to turn a corner, with a 4-week gap to Austin's US Grand Prix, an opportunity to convert its painful summertime lessons into a more robust car upgrade. Obviously, the gap to Lando was significant in the first part of the race, and we've now got the best part of a month to work hard and try and bring some performance to the car in Austin, Horner said. "When you consider where we were a couple of weeks ago, I think we have made some real progress. We've got a vein of development, and we've understood some of the issues with the car. I think we're starting to address them. We were better in Baku, we were better here, so there'll be a lot of late nights in Milton Keynes. The McLaren is the benchmark car at the moment, and we have a bit to catch up, but we've got the people and the capability to do that." Horner said Red Bull's Austin upgrade hasn't been signed off yet, but the lead times involved in getting new parts through the design and production cycle means the Milton Keynes factory has been flat out to try and incorporate its latest design solutions into the car that will take it through a challenging triple header in Austin, Mexico, and Brazil. It probably hasn't been finalized yet, so there's a lot of information that are coming out of these events that will influence what's going on the car in Austin. We've got a lot of useful information out of the last two races, but they're very, very different venues to the sweeping curves of Austin and Mexico. Brazil is a different one again, so it will be interesting. Everybody is massively motivated in the team, and we're still fighting obviously for both championships. Fernando Alonso has revealed he texted Adrian Newey and met with the former Red Bull chief technical officer in Monaco before the 65-year-old's move to Aston Martin. Newey was announced as Aston Martin's new managing technical partner and shareholder before the recent Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The Silverstone-based outfit won the race to Newey's signature ahead of a number of its F1 rivals, notably Ferrari. During the period when Newey was weighing up his options, Two-time F1 champion Alonso made sure his voice was heard in trying to lure the renowned designer to Aston Martin. When asked how involved he was in Newey joining the team, Alonso told select media, including Racing News 365. "Well, it's a question for him, Newey. I texted him for sure, like everybody probably did who wanted to work with him. I also saw him at the Monaco Historic Grand Prix in May, that he was racing in that week as well, and we spent half an hour chatting. I don't know, we all tried to persuade him. Ultimately, I think Lawrence and Stroll, his vision, the new factory, and what Aston Martin wants for the future, together with Honda, were probably key factors." The signing of Newey is the latest major investment by team owner Stroll, as many other senior figures have also been recruited over the past 2 years. With its state-of-the-art factory and a new wind tunnel due to go online later this year, Aston Martin's infrastructure will be the most advanced in F1. With the signing now of Newey, Alonso views Aston Martin's future very highly. "He's Newey a great addition to the team," added Alonso. "And probably for me, what I think is that the Aston Martin team is the team of the future in a way. We are opening new buildings at the factory, the campus, the wind tunnel will be in January. Honda, Aramco, the best partners in the world probably, and now Adrian as well. I think the team is taking shape and Lawrence's vision is taking shape." Helmut Marko has revealed Liam Lawson is set to take an immediate grid penalty on his return to F1 next month. Daniel Ricciardo, as was widely expected, was relieved of his RB seat and replaced by New Zealander Lawson in a deal until the end of this season, with Motorsport advisor Marko a longtime backer of the latter. Although Lawson is replacing Ricciardo, he takes over the engine allocation for the Australian, which is assigned per car and does not start afresh. It means Lawson will take on any potential grid drops Ricciardo could have faced. With the upcoming US Grand Prix in Austin a sprint event, grid penalties for exceeding engine components only count for the main race. Unless Lawson picks up a sprint-specific penalty, he will serve the expected 10-place drop for Sunday's race. The first race in the United States won't be relevant because he has an engine penalty, Marko told Motorsport Total. He will drop 10 places in the sprint race, so that doesn't exactly make life easier in Austin. Ricciardo ultimately failed to perform for RB after being handed his chance last season, one which was heavily disrupted when he missed 5 races after breaking a bone in his left hand. That thrust Lawson into the spotlight, allowing the 22-year-old a chance to shine, which he duly took with both hands, although he has had to wait patiently on the sidelines this year and watch how Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda have fared. In the end, after long touting Lawson, Marko has explained that ditching Ricciardo was always on the cards. It now affords him the chance to evaluate again ahead of deciding on where to place him for next season. "We have a good number of young drivers, that is clear," the veteran Austrian added, with F2 title contender Isaac Hadjar waiting in the wings and Arvid Lindblad rising through the ranks. "We have to look towards the future, and we want to have a comparison. Where does Lawson stand compared to Yuki Tsunoda? And then for the future, what do the driver pairings look like for both of our teams?" That's it for this video. 3 more weeks till the next race.